Welcome to this edition of Go Vote Omaha, presented by the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha. I'm Candide Santiago, Director of Operations with the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha, and I will be your facilitator for tonight's conversation. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization and does not endorse political candidates or parties. Our purpose is to empower voters and defend democracy. Go Vote Omaha focuses on policy issues. As a result, our discussions, we hope you will be ready to make an informed decision during election time. The views expressed at this educational event are not necessarily aligned with those of the League of Women Voters, but are expressed at the discretion of our guest. Today, we will hear from 4 candidates for the Nebraska legislature to represent Districts 5, 9, and 39. Our objective is for voters to hear about issues and policies directly from candidates in a nonpartisan environment. To find out more about the candidates that will be on your ballot this May, visit vote411.org, organized and published by the League of Women Voters of Nebraska Volunteers. The format for today is as follows. Each candidate will get a 1-minute opening statement followed by questions prepared by the League of Women Voters. Each candidate will answer every question and will have up to 45 seconds to answer. Following the question portion, each candidate will have a 1-minute closing statement. We alternate speaking order throughout the forum. Before the forum, the candidates drew numbers to determine the initial speaking order. I will introduce them now in that order. The 4 candidates running for Nebraska legislature are Flint Harkness, Margo Juarez, Tony Sorrentino, and John Cavanaugh. So, we will now get started with our opening statements. Tony, would you mind starting us off?
Thank you, Candace. My name is Tony Sorrentino. I'm a candidate for the state legislature, District 39, which is southwest Omaha, between Gretna and Waterloo. I'm a native Nebraska. I'm actually a native Omahan, educated here. My formal education is as a certified public accountant and attorney. I'm also an adjunct professor of law at Creighton University, as well as an assistant on the women's cross-country coach. I built, along with my partners, a business called Silverstone Group, which we sold 4 years ago. I'm now self-employed as a consultant on federal regulations as they apply to group health plans. My wife and I have 4 children and 6 grandchildren, and we have resided in Omaha during our entire married life. Thank you.
Margo?
Hi, good evening, everyone. I am the legislative candidate, one of them, for District 5. I grew up in South Omaha, born in Omaha, and I am a South High alum. I also graduated from UNO with both a bachelor and master's degree. For my bachelor's degree, I attended on the Goodrich Scholarship Program, and my career was with the federal government. I worked for Social Security and IRS, and I have lived in the West and returned back to Omaha in 2014. I really have enjoyed my retirement, and right now I'm busy serving on the OPS school board.
Hello. Hello, my name is Flint Harkness. I am running to represent Legislative District 5 here in South Omaha, and I'm a lifelong Nebraskan. I've lived up and down Highway 75, all the way far south as Pawnee City, all the way up north to Homer, Nebraska, and that is where I graduated high school from. I have went to college at the University of Nebraska, Omaha, where I got a bachelor's degree in secondary education, and then a master's degree in secondary education as well as endorsements in special education. And I've lived here in Omaha the last 11 years with my wife Shiloh and our son, who should be starting school here in the next couple of years. And it is as that experience as a special education teacher and as a parent of a soon-to-be student that kind of motivated me to make this run.
Thank you. John?
Thank you, Candide. Thanks you, the League of Women Voters, for having me here tonight. My name is John Cavanaugh. I'm the current senator for District 9 in Midtown Omaha. I've served in the legislature for the last 4 years and have proud of the work that I've done there. I'm a father of 4 children who are ages 10, 8, 6, and 5, and live in Midtown. In the legislature, I've worked on issues of tax fairness, equity, and protection of civil liberties for all Nebraskans. And I would like to continue in that service in making sure that Nebraska continues to be a safe and secure place for all Nebraskans where they can thrive and have the economic opportunities that we all hope for our children. Thank you.
Thank you for your answers. We'll start with our questions. Question 1 reads, what do you hope to accomplish in your time in the legislature? We will begin with Margo.
I really have a lot of issues that have piqued my interest, and I would like to hopefully get started, if not get some bills passed in these areas. One of my main interests is trying to improve mass transportation. I think it would be great if we could get a commuter train that went to the airport, or even a commuter train that went between Omaha and Lincoln. I really have also, obviously, a strong interest in supporting our public schools. I'm very concerned about their future.
Thank you, Margo. Flint?
So number one would be our public schools. The trend that our legislature is going on, especially with today with LB 1402, I just see that trend continuing. So we need an advocate of somebody who's actually been in a classroom the last few years, and that's why I'm running. Then there are issues like child mental health and foster care system. With the students that I've worked with, that has been an area that I've seen a lot of the downfalls of when the state is not doing what it's supposed to be doing in there. So those are areas that I would want to work on, along with just making life better for Nebraskans in general.
John?
Thank you. Which camera am I? There we go. So I'm very proud of the work that I've done in the legislature. In particular, today just passed a repeal of tax on diapers. So I said in my intro that I'm very interested in tax fairness and equity and making sure our tax code is more fair. And this is one example of something I've worked on, which is to eliminate the tax on diapers to make sure that working families can afford to pay for the things they need and can be able to go to work and send their kids safely to daycare and continue to build and save for the future. I want to continue to work on the same sorts of issues in my next 4 years in the legislature. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony?
With my background in business, and taxes and insurance, it seems natural that I would like to work on areas of taxation. I know property taxes are a big issue now and probably in a special session coming forward, but there are other types of taxes. Business infrastructure, economic growth. We have a lot of jobs in Nebraska, but unfortunately our youth and our middle-aged people who are receiving advanced education aren't always a good fit for those jobs. So a good match there of economic growth. We do have economic brain drain. We also have a loss of our older people because of a number of other reasons. So focusing on that, and also if the opportunity arises, focusing on state Medicaid, which is an area I've done a lot of work in the insurance business.
Thank you. Question 2 reads, what do you consider to be the essential services of a state government? We will begin with Flint.
Well, again, number one, education. We need an educated populace if we're going to have a successful society. Just my experience in all the places that I've lived, communities are usually a reflection of their schools. Then on top of that, just our safety net, making sure we're taking care of the most disadvantaged people, especially our children, is a big thing that the state should be doing. And then infrastructure. Anybody that's walked South Omaha, the streets, knows that there's a lot that are crumbling, not being taken care of. So infrastructure is a big one, as well as with energy infrastructure, broadband infrastructure. So those are the most important things, I think, for the state to want to focus on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a great answer from Flint. I would say education is one of the most fundamental things that services the state offers. Creates the workforce for the future. It helps families to succeed. It helps kids have a brighter future. Again, and infrastructure is another great one. Businesses can't thrive in a state without strong electricity grid, telecom, and roads. So I would continue to focus on helping work on those issues going forward.
Thank you. Tony?
I'll try not to be repetitive, so I'll just add a couple of things. State Medicaid is a very large line item on the budget. It's probably right after K through 12 education. Prior governors have looked at it as far as reforming it. Reforming it does not mean cutting it. It simply means updating it and getting it to a point where it's fair for all. It is a big expense that we share with the federal government. And then also, we've talked about business, but the incentives that we can use and should use to attract more business, which creates jobs, which drives education, it's all linked. So business incentives would be big.
Thank you. Margo?
Well, obviously, I'm supportive of the issues that have already been raised as far as important aspects of state government. Of course, having a strong school system, also safety for our communities with law enforcement, and having roads to get for transportation to our jobs, and again, having health and human services be strong to serve our elders. Elder care issues are really something important to me.
Thank you. Question 3 reads, does Nebraska need a paid family medical leave program? Why or why not? We will start with John.
Yes, of course we do. There's a ballot initiative out there this year where you have an opportunity to have your voice heard, and I think it's really important that Nebraskans have their voice heard on issues like that. But paid family medical leave allows for people to continue to work when those types of things that we know, though unexpected, we know are going to happen. A sick family member, sick child, sick parent, and allows you to continue to work and continue to take care of those folks. So it allows people to continue to advance in their career, allows businesses to have a workforce that is living a real life, and allows all Nebraskans to engage in employment and raise their family. Makes Nebraska a more friendly place for families to move, makes Nebraska a more friendly place for workforce, and more attractive for people to come for jobs.
Thank you. Tony?
Yes, with an asterisk. Being an employee benefits attorney, this is near and dear to my heart. We have family medical leave on a federal level, 12 weeks, unpaid. Most employers allow their employees to use paid days off, PTO, vacation days, filling in with short-term disability. So most of the 12 weeks is paid, but certainly not all. I say with an asterisk because that is an expensive cost to businesses. And as businesses go, so goes Nebraska. So without state funding, which is not, I think, what anybody's talking about, we have to take into consideration what it costs our local businesses. Because while it might not be a tax, it is a cost that we have to consider.
Thank you. Margo?
Yes, I think that family medical leave is really important. Obviously, if we want to keep our young folks in Nebraska showing that we're supportive of their future thoughts of having a family, I think is very attractive. I also think that, in my federal career, I used that benefit, and it helped me in taking care of my parents when I needed to, besides caring for my own children, and I just think that it's a positive step forward for our state.
Thank you. Flint?
Yes, it is completely necessary. I'm one of those people that never used his paid leave, or rarely ever did. When I left my last teaching job to go to Bellevue, I ended up having like 2.5 weeks worth of time. And so anybody that's ever had a child knows that that takes time off, and you want to be there those first few weeks with them. And it cost me and my wife. And then every time he gets sick, or we have to save the days for him more than we do for us. So yeah, I think it's definitely needed here in Nebraska.
Thank you. We'll move on to question 4, which reads, what can we do as a state to attract and retain young people, such as in the areas of walkability, housing, and social issues? We'll begin with Tony.
Those are all three things that I think we need to consider. Mass transit, which I think perhaps Margo mentioned earlier, getting people to and from without parking issues, the expense of that. But I might add something else to that. And in many of our jobs, which requires higher education, some states have gone so far as to do loan forgiveness programs if you were educated in the state and if you're taking a job within the state. And I think that goes a long way. We have young people coming out of school with six-figure loans to jobs where they won't be able to afford a house and car and transportation. So I would think along the more unique area would be something either loan forgiveness through the state, or if a private business forgives that loan, there would be a credit.
Thank you. Margo?
I think that one way that we could attract young folks staying in Nebraska is by the dual enrollment programs that OPS offers for our students. I think that's really an attractive way for our students to earn college credit while they're in high school. And I definitely think that their ability to transfer those credits to our current local colleges is really a huge plus. And I think that that's what will help us keep young people here. And again, like I mentioned before, I think our mass transit needs to improve, because I think that they would favor that kind of change also.
Thank you. Flint?
Yeah, all of those will help draw younger people to live here. I have that weird fantasy of one day being a one-car family and being able to bike. Obviously not if I win to the legislation race that I'm in, but yeah, having a more walkable city, having multimodal ways to get around, public transportation, and then getting people here. Again, our schools are usually one of the big things that draw people here. Kids leave to go to college elsewhere, but when they come back to start a family, it's because of our schools. So making sure we have strong schools, I think, would be one of the key things to make sure we have younger people living here.
Thank you. John?
Thank you. Well, we can carpool to the legislature. As a father of young kids and somebody who moved here when I was having kids, I understand that the things that young families are looking for are high quality public education, affordable childcare, affordable lifestyle, affordable housing. And yes, mass transit is really important, but housing costs are out of control in Midtown Omaha in particular, and we need to work on that, making sure that everybody it's achievable to get that dream of your home ownership, and then build the rest of the community around that. Attractive jobs, things like paid family medical leave, are going to allow people to look at Nebraska as an opportunity for them to come and work and raise a family. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 5 reads, do you believe Nebraska as a state should have an overall climate strategy? We'll begin with Margo.
Yes, I think that, again, a climate strategy is something that's really important to our younger generation today, and it should be important actually to all of us. And I think that one of the climate change strategies that I would like to see is, if we're going to go with electric cars, I sure would like to see a lot more of those chargers available, so that it'll be available to everyone and not just to people of higher income. But that when we're looking at climate change strategy, that we do think about the ability for it to meet the needs of everyone.
Thank you. Flint?
Yeah, we definitely do. Climate change is a real thing. Our activities are a big cause of it. And so, yeah, making those transportation changes like electric cars, increasing charging infrastructure like Margo suggested would be huge things to do. Also looking at other ways to do transportation, again, public transportation, creating more walkable cities, more dense cities, and saving more of our natural environment as it is, instead of developing it. Also our energy infrastructure, nuclear, green energy, those are all things we can do to help combat that.
Thank you. John?
Thank you. Well, as a member of the legislature, I serve on the Natural Resources Committee, and in my first year in the legislature, I brought a climate action plan bill that didn't go anywhere, but I continue to work on it. And the one thing I've learned by working with my rural partners and folks on the other end of the political spectrum is that folks are interested in doing the right thing on climate change, but they need to be incentivized to do it. We need to find ways to make it make economic sense for farmers, for businesses, for homeowners to invest in green technology, to invest in energy efficiency, and to invest in practices that will actually decrease our carbon footprint, but that there is not forcing people to do that. We need to find ways to incentivize those businesses so it makes economic sense for them. And I have worked continuously with my partners on the Natural Resources Committee to find those sorts of solutions.
Thank you. Tony?
Going forth is fun. I would just add to that those are all great. In Nebraska, our gold is called water, and we have that Ogallala aquifer, and I would like to see more attention focused on our preservation of water. Under Governor Ricketts, we had some concerns with Colorado, which I think are still ongoing, but the preservation of our water table, because we are an agricultural state and our urban areas depend on agriculture. So included in our policy should be a strong statement on our water preservation.
Thank you, Tony. We appreciate that. We will now move into our closing statements. Tony, we ask you to begin.
Thank you. It's an honor to be considered for the legislature. If I'm so fortunate to be elected, it's my job to represent roughly 40,000 people. It's not simply my opinion on things. I will do my best to canvass my area on the issues that I will be voting on. If I would summarize it, I would say that Nebraska is at its best when we put when we put state before party. We reach across the aisle, we listen, and we attempt to find common ground in areas where heretofore we hadn't found any. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Flint?
Just like to thank all of you here for this opportunity. And I've been working hard. I've been knocking on thousands of doors, talking to hundreds of voters, and I'm just truly trying to be that voice for District 5 and for all Nebraskans. I've had experiences from really rural communities to Omaha now. And so I think having my experience working with the student population I've had to work with, I think that will give me the tools needed to be successful in getting legislation passed in Lincoln that will actually benefit the state of Nebraska and all Nebraskans as a whole, as well as Legislative District 5 specifically. And so again, thank you for this opportunity, and that's all I've got.
Margo? Thank you very much. I really want to emphasize that I feel that my work experience is really going to help me serve at the state level. I worked for Social Security and IRS, and now I've served on the school board. So I feel that I really have a good foundation to get started at the state level. Yes, this is going to be my first experience, but I feel that I'm ready for it. And as an elected official serving the school district, I feel that it really has taught me a lot. I know that teamwork is very important. I actually got started with this because people in the community asked me to run. And so I was willing to do so, and I would appreciate your vote.
Thank you. John?
Thank you. Well, it's been the honor of my life to serve District 9 the last 4 years, and I feel like I've got a strong record to run on of things, of accomplishments like I mentioned earlier, of repealing the tax on diapers, working with businesses, working with environmentalists, working with across the aisle with other Nebraskans of a wide spectrum, defending property rights, defending our senior citizens, and defending Nebraskans. I look forward to serving for the next 4 years and continuing to work on those issues to make Nebraska as welcoming as possible, to make it as economically just as possible, to make sure that everybody has an opportunity at a high quality education, has an opportunity to save for the future, and has an opportunity to raise their family in a safe community. And I appreciate your time and attention. I appreciate the League of Women Voters and Candid and all the other candidates here for your interest in running. And I hope I can count on your support this November. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us tonight. If you want to learn more about the candidates and issues that will be on your ballot, visit vote411.org for a personalized resource tool. A special thank you to the candidates participating in tonight's conversation. For the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha, I'm Candide Santiago. As always, we urge you to be informed and to be a voter on May 14th. Go vote, Omaha.